everyone. We'll kick off today's webinar, which is on climate-smart housing solutions for rural households, building resilience and practicality. My name is Sita Shah, and I work with FSD Kenya. FSD Kenya is a market facilitator. We're structured as an independent trust, and we work with government and financial sector players to pilot innovative solutions to help reduce poverty. I lead the affordable housing pillar, and we also work to improve the enabling environment. With us today, we have a really exciting panel with representatives from our partner, the KFS Group, Emma Kimani, the CEO, Faith Wambugu, the head of operations, Penina Mulewa, who's the FSA manager for Kakiani, one of the areas that we undertook the pilot, and also the regional team leader. We're joined also by Dr. Solomon Mwangi, who is the senior building construction expert with experience in many African countries and even globally, and his assistant, Samuel Karungi. So the format of the webinar will be on understanding our partner, KFS Group, and their value proposition, how we undertook the baseline survey to understand the housing conditions and the demand analysis, how we undertook the design intervention, the implementation and training of both the members of the FSAs and the artisans, and understand the product development and uptake. With that, I hand it over to Emma to take us through the FSA model. I'd like to suggest a couple of pointers for the webinar. Please, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A. That will help us monitor them and ensure we answer them. Please also do introduce yourself in the chat. It's really nice to know who's here. And one more point of context is the importance of rural housing. When I joined the FSD 5 years ago in 2020, we designed the housing strategy, and we saw that there were 4 areas of housing that are very important. Because Kenya has 70% rural population still, we defined rural housing as an important component. The second one was informal settlements, which is an urban area. The third one was urban rental, because most people in urban areas do rent. And the last one was urban for sale or developer-led. So I'm really excited that we can share this end-to-end journey on rural housing with our partner, KFS. Thank you. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you so much, Sita. Good afternoon, everyone. We are very, very excited that you're able to join us. I will go through to the models for KFS and FSA. And also the history of KFS and our value proposition. Financial Services Association was started by the KRep Development Agency, the KDA, around 1997. They've been around for some time. And the idea was to ensure that there is financial inclusion for the undeserved rural communities, especially in the arid and semi-arid areas. The target areas for the FSA really were characterized and still are with low population density, high incidences of poverty, and at the time, the infrastructure was also not very good. And this made lots of financial institutions, especially the banks and the microfinance, not to operate in such areas. FSAs are membership community-based financial institutions. They offer credit, savings, and other financial services also as vehicles to ensure there is socio-economic empowerment within the areas. In 2005, KDA established a company called KFS, which was a specialist, a shared services organization that provides technical support and oversight to the FSAs. Initially, KFS was a limited liability company by shares, but this, in alignment to the mission, the operations were transitioned to a company limited by guarantee called KFS Group. In Kenya, we believe there are other FSAs that exist outside of KFS. The way we operate, the KFS Group, like I said, is shared technical and oversight services. So we have 34 FSAs currently, and we do have the network economies. That's the way it operates. And therefore, the costs for technical support and oversight are usually pooled in a shared contribution approach. And they are pegged on the FSA actual income. And this was to ensure from the very beginning that there was sustainability of both KFS and the FSAs themselves. The way the model works is that the KFS itself, in consultation with the governance committee members, are able to bring, to employ and deploy the managers who are charged with the day-to-day operations of the FSA. So the capacity is spread across head office, where head office backstops the capacity building or the capacity and the oversight. And the KFS is also involved in promotion and establishment of additional FSAs. The array of services that KFS offers to the FSA, from operations management all the way to capacity building, to strategic planning, and also to risk management. Quite a number of these services are done to ensure that the FSAs are well run and that they are able to, to serve the members that they should be able to serve them. One key thing is that the FSAs still remain as member-owned and managed by a local governance committee that is usually in charge of hiring the other staff of the FSAs, because we have other several staffs that also work with the manager at the FSA. So that's key for you to note, including policy and standardization of all the policies across the FSAs. In terms of growth from 2006, we had about 57 FSAs. Membership was about 71,000, and the average members per FSA at the time was 1,253. And you can see the growth, but I'll go to the last one, which is June 2025. We had 34 FSAs with 388,900 members and 11,438 as an average. One to note is that a lot of FSAs do or had converted into rural circles, and therefore had chosen that path. But the ones that we are currently managing are 34. Those 34 FSAs are in eight counties in Kenya, and like I said, they're in arid and semi-arid, except a few that you can see in Kakamega, Vihiga, and Busia, where the incidences of poverty was quite high. So on average, we have about, like I had said earlier, 11,438, but we have FSAs with more members and others with much lower than the average. In terms of performance of the FSAs in total, as that if you compare in December 2024 and June 2025, still 34 FSAs, you can see the numbers that moved from 375 to about 388. We remain in 8 counties. The outstanding loans was about 2.418 billion, with as at the end of June, around 2.4 billion, again, just nearly the same. The surplus for the year for 2024 is a whole year of about 259 and 131 for half year for 2025, with a total assets of 4.4 billion in 2024 and 4.5 billion in 2025. In terms of uniqueness, how different are FSAs from other financial services organizations is that geographically you find a lot of the FSAs operate within semi-arid and arid areas or communities with limited, other financial services providers working or operate there. They are mutual membership. FSAs are owned by members, where members pool together their resources to enhance their livelihoods and, of course, their economic well-being. From the very onset, and in terms of ensuring that they can build their capital base, FSAs automatically plow back 50 to 60% of any reserves or any surplus, and the rest is paid to the members. And of course, FSAs also, the members do pay withholding tax. FSAs have a social mission, and therefore it was to assist the members to smoothen their consumption and especially their household, the way the incomes at the household level and also at the risk management. The shared services, technical support and oversight, and there is also the net economies of scale. And like I said earlier in the earlier slides, we actually pull together the resources that come from various FSAs, and they're used to pay across the board, including the capacity building. They use the lending approach called Grameen, and therefore lots of psychological and security premised on social and communal bonds. They give very low loans, and therefore their break-even in terms of sustainability, they take quite a bit of time to actually be able to build their base or their resources. And with the advent of mobile phone, FSAs are still very, very relevant in the community areas because they offer quite a broader financial solutions to the members. I would like to take you through the differences between what SACCOs and FSAs look like. If you look at SACCOs, they are diverse, which FSAs are not. They are only they are found in the rural communities. If you look at SACCOs and just looking at it because that report is available, you can see that members at the FSA do not have, most of the loans, they actually don't use collateral. And of course, they retain quite a bit of surplus to ensure that they have money on for them to be able to continue lending to one another. In terms of chairmans, they are also very, very different because they have a larger pool of capital that they can get into. They are also able, it's much safer to save with the FSAs, and the members of the FSA have a lower PAR compared to the chairmans. So it's a much safer place to keep the money.
Thank you so much, Emma, for walking us through the FSA, FSA history and the KFS development. It really does stand as a model of sustainable development, and FSD has been working with FSA and KFS Group for a while. So as the housing program, we really benefited from finding a partner that reaches the target people we want to reach and has developed sustainability from the get-go. But they were offering, when we started speaking to KFS in 2024 as the housing program of FSD, we found they were offering a wide variety of loan products to meet the member needs, including asset loans to the level of even ensuring the assets are purchased at fair prices, good quality, etc. So all the way from Beshara loans to school fees loans, emergency loans, some savings and money transfers, but they did not provide any housing product. All the loans they provided had a short-term tenor of 6 to 12 months, typically with a maximum tenor of 36 months. And the interest was typically around 1.5% a month, with quite a small loan size, as Emma said, of about 14,000 shillings on average. So when we approached KFS to think about housing, we agreed to partner to first diagnose what the baseline would be And if the diagnosis showed potential and showed feasibility, then we would go to design an intervention to pilot the implementation and monitor the product uptake. So as we stand right now, this is what we have done, but it was all done in phases, with one stage when it was cleared, thought given to, is the next stage relevant? Yes, and we went ahead. So the total support that FSD has provided KFS in this intervention is a 20 million shilling grant over 5 years. This includes 9,000 shillings to cover the training of 1,400 members and create awareness of the product design, support the uptake and monthly monitoring. And it also included a loan fund to seed a loan fund in 2 pilot areas of 11 million shillings, so 5.5 million in each FSA. And the loan fund was really important because we're trying to stretch the tenor of the loans, which is required for housing. Separately, FSD supported the building construction specialist, Dr. Solomon, and his assistant. We started with the baseline survey, which cost 3 million. And once the baseline showed feasibility, we implemented on the pilot, which was 7 million. That is actually included, it included all the materials, all the equipment and logistics for the training team. And to note, after that was done, we found that while the artisans had been trained on how to build with these materials, it was still very technical to understand how to do bills of quantity, because everyone does not want a standardized house. They don't have the capacity for it. And so we've hired for that separately at about 10 days a month, because we want to enhance the local skill transfer for scalability. So with that, I hand it over to Dr. Solomon, who led the baseline. He'll talk through the baseline and then talk about how we designed the pilot. Dr. Solomon?
Thank you so much, Sita, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, yes, my name is Solomon Mwangi, and I was the lead consultant on this project. And what we started with was the baseline survey, whose objective was first and foremost to understand the type of houses which exist in all the 5 FSAs which we are covering. We did actually cover 2 FSAs in Eastern Kenya, and that is Kakeani and Kadhonzueni, Marafa in Western Kenya, and Bamba and Matanmane on the coastal region of Kenya. Other than understanding the technologies which are in use and type of houses, we also did a survey on the water resources available, the type of sanitations in existence for human waste disposal, and cooking resources in terms of energy and the facilities they use for that. And last but not least, we also did a survey on what has been used in terms of lighting the houses, basically at night. Of those 5 FSAs, where we have the summary on the slides there, both Kadhonzueni and Kakeani had a total of approximately 22,000 people, Marafa 12,000 people, Baba in the coast almost 10,000, Matanmane 11,000. That's both the men and women. In terms of their household incomes, Matanmane in the coast at the lowest, which is like 2,000 per household. Baba, Kadhonzueni, and Kakeani each had an average of 9,000, and Marafa had the highest. The reason for Marafa having the highest in the Eastern Kenya, rather in the Western Kenya, is because that's quite a good agricultural area, good labor force. Whereas in Kadhonzueni, Kakeani, those are sort of semi-arid. Okay. From the survey finding, we found there were 2 key technologies which were very much in use. In Kakeani and Kadhonzueni in Eastern Kenya, the main building materials were burnt bricks. In Marafa and Bamba and Matanmane in the coastal province, those were basically using poles and mud. Both technologies have an adverse effect on the environment, in the sense that there's a lot of tree cutting involved, especially for burning bricks. And of course, the poles and mud structure depend on the poles for for the structural elements and then infilled with mud or stones. We also found that from the analysis of burnt bricks making, 40 to 50% are lost with the production process. Those are through the cracking during the drying process, often resulting from the poor choices of the soil used for brick making. The firing process, you also lose quite a big substantial, and that tends to be big losses. In terms of the water sources, that is still a big need in many rural areas of Kenya, and the rainwater harvesting has not been really maximized. For human waste disposal, the key technology is the pit trackings, many of them in deplorable conditions and also unhygienic. For cooking, as one would expect in rural areas, firewood remains like the main source of cooking and charcoal, and that is always on the decline because the cutting of trees is not replaced very often with the planting of new trees. And as I said earlier on, the last day we focused on lighting, we found that in Kenya there's a very wide adoptability of solar lighting in rural settings, which supplements what the Kenya Fire Lighting Company has done in making deep inroads interiorly in providing power. Talking about the technologies, construction technology, the key construction technology, we focus more on the walling because in terms of roofing, the metal sheets, the corrugated iron sheets or box profile roofing sheets, that is like the universally available, this is the traditional dirty glass. For Kadonswen and Kakeani FSAs in Eastern Kenya, the main building material again was the burnt bricks, and which are not always very good quality, and they need to be improved sometimes by plastering to prolong their lives. In Western Kenya, Marafa, and also in the coastal region, Baba and Matano Manne, the use of poles and mud was the main construction technology. And what they do later on, especially in Western Kenya, they always improve the quality of the poles and mud housing by plastering them with local clays. And in some cases, those who can afford, they do plaster the houses in the cement, sand, mortar, which prolongs the lifespan of the houses. And the same to some smaller scale happens also in the coastal regions. Okay. Houses built with burnt bricks still have those effects as I highlighted, as you can see from some of the pictures. The bricks which are not of very good quality, they are either half baked or half burnt. They start eroding with time, and the only way to counteract that is to plaster the house later, which of course uses more cement or makes it more expensive. And from those pictures, you can also see there's a big wastage, as I was saying, 40 to 50% of the bricks are lost through the production process from the molding, drying, and firing. And that's also a big loss in terms of the energy, the resources, the money spent, the water spent, which unfortunately our people in the rural areas do not always cost that as a cost. And of course, the inevitable effect on the environment. Just for the record, I think the basic estimate is that you cut like 14 to 15 trees, which have taken 20 to 30 years to grow, to make enough bricks to build like a 2 to 3 bedroom house, or if you talk about classroom, to build 1 classroom. So you can see the impact on the environment. Let's proceed. Again, that's how the typical modern poles look like with the metal sheets. The problem with the poles, with the time they're eaten up by termites, and when the mud comes in contact with the rainwater, it will keep on weathering. And these houses have a lifespan of between 20 to 30 years, probably 15 to 25 years. They are on the higher side. And those are some of the improvements that the local initiatives incorporated by the local builders or local artisans, where they plaster the houses. Sometimes they reinforce with chicken wire, and that prolongs the lifespan of a house. In some areas also, especially in the coast, they would still use the poles and mud, and when they have there's a supply of these pebble stones, they would fill in the gaps left by the poles, and then plaster the building. And if that is done properly, that gives you a more permanent structure. So those were the main existing technologies. When you make bricks, as you can see from those pictures, most of the soils used or the clays are normally good agricultural soils. So there's an effect on the food production in the sense that the soils once used, they are not replenished. And then the continued cutting of trees that has a big adverse effect on the general environment. In Eastern Kenya, especially, there's a big abundance of sand, and I would say it is not fully exploited. You find sand in rivers, on the roadsides, and there have been a few initiatives of making sand cement blocks. The only problem is the way they make them. They do them in a very unskilled way, whereby they would try to spread the amount of cement to make up to 40, 50 blocks of cement. Then they are very poorly cured, and the resultant is that the blocks will weather off with time and they don't last very long. But with some good training, that's a major resource which we looked at adding value to it and making better blocks for more permanent houses. Then, in a few cases where people are still searching for ways of building permanent houses, which is the aspiration of everybody, some people have gone to the extent, those who can afford, of getting stones like 200 kilometers away from Thika, and by the time you put up a building using those machine cut stones, which are natural, it doubles the cost of the housing, and that's of course not an alternative to many people. Not to mention also that in the long run, cost due to the demand. Once you mine the stones, there's no replacement. So we have to come up with alternatives. In terms of water and sanitation, our survey revealed that especially in the semi-arid areas, with an exception of Western Kenya, Marafa, there are a few cases of community earth dams, which collects rainwater during the rainy season, which where people source water for their domestic use, but also for their animals. In a few cases featured, there was wells, especially Western Kenya. There are a few cases of piped water, that is a layer, and not very much rainwater harvesting. And as I said earlier on, in terms of sanitation or for human waste disposal, pit rackings was a main technology. For cooking, the traditional 3-stone continue to be used, which is dependent on firewood, which is chopped from trees, from the forest or the few existing trees. And there have been a few initiatives of adopting better ways of cooking through the improved fuel-saving charcoal cooking stoves. And there's a very small replacement of the 3 stones with the improved firewood cooking stoves, which saves more firewood. What happens with the 3 stones, you lose about 70 to 80% of the energy, whereas with an improved mud stove, you can maximize at least up to 70 to 80%. So that was another area we looked for an intervention. Lighting, again, the key thing for even in lighting, there's very wide adaptation of the solar lighting. There are really very many players, and it's very evident that almost on every other village market, there are all sorts of players who are trying to sell solar plants. So that is an ongoing thing. And the Kenya government have made great inroads in supplying this rural electrification of trees to schools and the main shopping centers. But that still leaves a big majority without adequate power or lighting. Okay. Moving on, we did, of course, the cost analysis from all the technologies we analyzed, and the figures are there for us. What we did, we based our findings or our analysis on a 3-room house, ideally whereby you can have a sitting room and at least 2 bedrooms. The general finding from the survey we did was that the kitchen is always like outside and normally a standalone. So for areas such as Kadhonzweni and Kakeani, the main building materials we already said was burnt bricks, and the cost of such a house per square meter would be around 14,000 Kenya shillings. If you compare that with the improved technology which you are introducing, the stabilizer blocks, the stabilizer blocks are much cheaper than the burnt bricks. And moving on, the other technology is sand cement blocks. Blocks made from sand and cement normally cost more or less the same with the stabilizer blocks. And the stones which come from far away are the most expensive. In Marafa, which was a little bit of an exceptional case, the main building material there was Marafa, and for that matter, Bamba and Matanumane. That's why you found a lot of usage of the poles and mud, and the poles are there. Marafa being much cheaper in the sense that people there still grow, these eucalyptus trees, which takes like 5 years or so to harvest, whereas in Ukambani or the other areas may take longer. And the costs are there. The bottom line again is that stabilizer blocks, sand cement blocks were found to be the cheaper alternatives. And those were the ones we chose for adaptation as the way forward in terms of the climate resilience and affordable housing technologies for the rural settings which we are focusing on as a pilot. So the general conclusion from the survey is that housing continues to be a major need for every household, as you can imagine. Priority, of course, being food, clothing, education, and of course, water. But so there's still big demand for improved rural housing. That's everybody's aspirations. Sustainable solutions we have to come up with, because the continued cutting of trees or burning of bricks just continue having an adverse effect on the environment. And for these technologies to be well adopted, one of our recommendations was to undertake a general awareness among the communities of the effects of the technology they are using and the cheaper alternatives to give them better houses. And for the way forward, we had to be practical and do what we termed as a pilot project, which resulted in building a demonstration house using these technologies at these stabilizer blocks. We also did a pit latrine and a showering area or a bathroom using sand cement blocks to demonstrate the technologies that would be viable and climate resilient. So in terms of priority needs, the housing was, of course, still top of the priority. Then water harvesting, pit latrines and bathrooms, those always went together. In some extreme cases, people bathe outside or in very poor bathing situations. And introducing now improved firewood energy-saving cooking stoves. And for this to be sustainable, the key thing was the training component, the training and awareness for the members of the FSAs, but also more important, training of local artisans, which we also did with the next generation. These are basically students from vocational trainings on how to produce these stabilizer blocks, how to make better quality sand cement blocks, and how to build with them, but also more important, how do you work out a bit of quantities? How do you estimate how many blocks are required for a house, a basic house? And also the simple basic plans to meet the members' needs. So we came up with those like the key highlights of the interventions needed on the way forward. I think we move on to the next, which focuses more on the production, and I think I'll let my colleague or my assistant Samuel Karungi to walk us through that. It's been where necessary.
On the technical side, I'm Samuel Karanja. We delve mainly on the training of people. We had two technologies. We had the stabilized soil block, and which we normally call it SSB, and we had SCB, stabilized soil sand cement blocks. We also did improve of pit latrine. We were building some toilet to improve on the standard they were living from. They had very poor toilets, so we were improving on that. After we have completed the house, we had to correct the water. So we taught them how to put gutters, have a tank, have a base for the water harvesting. And also we were doing also a demonstration and construction of improved GICO so that they can be able to have a house, have water, and also have a place to cook. We also encouraged simple wiring of a house where we were using the solars and showing them how to do simple wirings. Here we have one of the technology we taught them. We had this one, we call it stabilized soil blocks. And this machine is called Makiga, where we normally use a maram. You actually dig 1 foot from the ground. You have to remove the topsoil. And then the machine normally requires you to have a ratio of 1:14, which will mean 1 part of cement is to 14 part of a maram, which is sealed well. And then the machine is normally operated by 4 people.
The emphasis here, just to interject, is when you are using stabilized soil blocks, you actually use the soils that you dig from the foundation of your house, so you are not destroying any agricultural soil. And then from a simple test, we are able to determine the mixing ratio of how much cement to mix up with how much sand. And on average, you get like from 1 bag of cement, something like 8 and 8 blocks, which are equivalent to 4 square meters of walling. Proceed, sir.
The other picture shown there is the curing, where curing of this block is very, very important. Since they are mixed with cement, normally within 7 days, you can be able to move around and pack them, or you can build just close by. But we normally advise people to have at least 28 days for purposes of curing. Well, we also encourage the members that they can be able to, like, if you want to sell to the local people, you can do it as a business. So not only building, we're also trying to do entrepreneurship. Basically, as we had been told earlier, ours we were dealing mainly on the wall. Okay, we were doing the whole project from the ground, the foundation, the walling, and the roofing. But our technology only emphasizes more on the walling, where we normally used the stability. This house we used stabilized soil block, and we were trying to emphasize on the laying of the courses. We normally put a hoop iron on the 4th course, and you have to follow all the guidelines. Like after you have done the slab, you have to put the damp-proof membrane for the purpose of water preventing dampness on the house. And also you have to put your hoop iron in the 4th course. And you have to, if you want to put keys, like that, how the pictures we are seeing there, we wanted to put some key to just encourage them to make the house a bit more neat. The other technology we are doing was a sand cement block. And the ones shown there is hollow blocks. We have 2 types. We have hollow blocks and we have solid blocks. This one we normally use sand because apparently in Ukambani, those areas of Ukambani Eastern, we encourage them, instead of buying machine cut stone, you just use the sand which is locally available there. So the machine shown there is a hollow machine, which the ratio is normally about 1:7, which will produce, which means 1 part of cement is to 7 parts of sand. For 1 bag of cement, you will produce around 35 blocks of hollow blocks. And for solid blocks, you will produce around 20 blocks. Basically, but when you are doing your construction, you have to those hollow point you can see, you have to turn to make them.
You do them upside down.
Upside down, you have to do them upside down.
Maybe the emphasis here also is we just use a hard mode. You don't need like any very special machinery, and you can use the hard mode from one side to the other and make blocks on the site. The key in sand cement blocks is the ratio of mixing cement and sand and the curing process. Proceed.
Basically, on the training point, there were those keys that we were looking at. And first of all, we mentioned that we had to, at least when we are doing the pilot, they had to have the machine. The machine is the one that we show you. We have two technology, the SSB and SEB. For SSB, the machine normally costs around 90,000. And then you can purchase it from the FSA. There is a way you can procure from them. Normally, the material for stabilized soil and SCB, normally material you find from just on your hand there. You have to remove the topsoil, and then you are able to get the good soil, which we call it, normally we call it mallam, and you have to do the testing. And that's what we call soil identification. The machine normally comes with a testing kit. Production procedure is one cement is for 14 buckets of soil, and this is for sand stabilized soil blocks. You have to use that ratio. If you are using a bucket, we normally emphasize on people using bucket because even a lay person can be able to do that. We also emphasize on curing. Curing, you have to use, you can use polythene paper. You can also use any dry material to cover from the sun so that the blocks can cure slowly. There are three ways of also testing. After it has cured on 28 days, there are three ways to test it. We have one which you drop the block, and you have another one you just leave the block for stabilized soil block. You leave the block in the water for a whole night, and then you are supposed to see how it has fared in the morning. We have number 7, basic costing. We also did the estimation and controlling. For the SCB, the machine normally costs around 15,000, and you can procure that one need around 2 people to operate, so you can have at least 2. You can also find it in FSAs, and we normally insist on using river sand, which is in plenty in those eastern places of Ukambani. Quality sand, you have to use the sand.
Sorry, allow me to interject. I think we'll have to go a bit faster on this so we get to the product development. But the main point here as well is that we enable the FSA to own the machine and lend it out to the artisan, where the more expensive machine for the soil stabilized blocks. But just allow me to move the slides a bit faster now.
I think we can move faster on this. Basically, for the key meaning for this training is basically the production process. Doing things like curing, using a bucket for measuring, batching out mixes, so that there's no shortcut, and that will get quality building materials. And I think again, a part of the survey, what we found out from the housing, they had all these houses, but no rainwater harvesting. And that is an immediate solution to provide water for immediate domestic use. So the intervention there was to come up with the gutters and a water tank. That's further evidence of that.
Yeah, here we can even see that when the tanks were there, often they were not connected well. So, Dr. Sol? one of the products introduced was to really explain all the elements that are needed to ensure the full rainwater harvesting is done effectively. And we sized it by the size of the tank.
Yeah, I think the final product was a comprehensive package using several blocks or the salt cement blocks that we use for the pit latrine and bathrooms, how to harvest water with a plastic tank which are available everywhere, and then a good base, and that is it. And with 1 or 2 rainfalls, you have enough water to keep the family going from one rain season to the next. The improved pit latrine. This we deal with the salt cement blocks, and you can see on the light the complete one. And the part of the training which has continued for the artisans is coming up with basic house designs and how to work out a bill of quantities. How much material do you need for every house? Because that is basically what the FSA members you need when they want to take a loan, how much your 2-roomed or 3-roomed house cost. And they normally depend on the rural builders. We don't have architects or engineers in the rural settings. The rural builder is the everything. He's the barefoot architect, so to speak, and the engineer and everything. So giving them those basic skills. The emphasis on the improved pit latrine, that is what was in the existent, which was always often unhygienic and a very poor structure. And what we came up with was an improved pit latrine which comes with an airtight cover. An airtight cover which contains the foul smells. It keeps away the flies and the breeding of mosquitoes. And it's generally very clean. And next to the pit latrine, we also had a shower place. And that's the layout of the bathroom and the toilet and the complete unit. Again, we are all familiar with that one, the 3 stones for cooking, and which we already said they waste about 80 to 90% of the energy because it's all scattered everywhere, and you only use like 10%. And we came up with a simple improved stove for firewood. As you can see on the right, rather than the left, we designed these cooking stoves per the size of the pot which the family uses. And the advantage of this improved stove, you can cook 2 meals at a time. So for those people like ugali or they have to make a stew and another meal, they just cook simultaneously. So still using the same blocks, we were able to build and demonstrate that. And a number of people have started adopting that using the blocks they already have there, whether they are mud blocks or our improved bricks or the unfired bricks rather. That's about it, I think, from my end.
Yeah, this really is to showcase that all this information has been made available on our website. We've published all the documents, so please do take a look at them. And I'll hand it over to Faith and Penina to talk about the product development. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. When we come to the product development from the survey, it was evident that there was need for improved houses, water and sanitation in the communities where the FSAs serve. So after the baseline survey, we came up with a product for the members of the FSA whose objective was improving the living conditions for the members of the FSA and the communities around the FSA, at the same time ensuring that they are promoting climate resilience. The target market was basically everyone in the community, the current and the existing community members of the community where the FSAs are located. And this was done through the product development process. We have a co-creation sitting for around 1 week, and we created this product with the FSD Kenya team, the building and construction experts, the FSA, on the members of the FSA. That means it is we were developing the product for people, not with the people and not for them. And how we did it is we did a lot of discussions with the team through the key informant interviews. We did focused group discussions with the community members. We also had sittings with the community leaders and also the suppliers of the building materials who are the local suppliers, because we wanted a more inclusive and collaborative product for the community. After we received all the information, and we looked at the practically applicable ideas from what we collected, and we did a product concept to allow maximum flexibility of the borrowers, because we wanted a product that could relate to the people and they were addressing their needs. And after that, a lot of business analysis to validate the information that we received from the discussions that we had, and we also had to validate the costing, because among the questions that we're asking the members is what their aspirations are in terms of the building, in terms of sanitation, and what would be more cost viable for them. What would they be willing to put for all the products? And we looked also at the pricing, because we wanted a flexible product that will also relate to the cash flow of the rural communities, because we know the cash flow is there are seasons for cash flow in the rural areas, and looking at what was in the baseline survey, we could see the household incomes. I think the maximum was around 20,000 and a minimum of 2,000 per month for the household. And when it comes to product development, we were looking at a product name that would be easy to remember and also relatable to the members of the community. So we came up with a product by the name Boresha Boma. Yes, Boresha Boma is the product. That means it's a better household. You go to the next. And the core component when it came to the financial product was water harvesting and storage, where we were doing the water tanks and the guttering, so that it makes a lot of sense, because then when you just give them a water tank and there is no proper harvesting of the water, then it will not be viable. Then we were looking at sanitation, where we were looking at the pit latrines and bathrooms. We are looking at improved cooking, where we are looking at cook stoves, and housing. In housing, we were looking at a situation where a person wanted to do a full house, a new full house, or improve what they currently have. And we also considered incremental building, such that one person can start from the foundation, then they just borrow for the foundation. After they finish paying, they can borrow to do the walling until the house is complete to the roofing. And for this product, after we did the costing, the interest rate is at 1.25% per month on flat basis. And you would find that in the FSAs, the FSAs belong to the members. So even this interest, when they get the interest at the end of the year, they share that into the rebate. So that's why we did at 1.25%, so that it is more accessible to the members. And in the FSA, they want to become an FSA member, they subscribe to what we call the share unit contribution. And for the loan sizes, we cap them to the 4 times of the share unit contribution per person. And most of the collateral for these loan products is just the Muungano guarantee. Muungano, they are the solidarity groups, because our model of administering loans at the FSAs is using the Grameen methodology. So the group members becomes the guarantee for the loans. They also do some little mandatory savings, which is we also use it as part of the collateral, and the household items, the charters that are available in the home. And for additional, we use for the water harvesting, the tank and the fittings were part of the collateral. And for the housing, we just needed the proof of the land ownership. And for the members, because in the rural areas, mostly they are the ancestral lands, and in the FSA being a rural financial organizations, we just take the land ownership as a simple deposits. And this is how we designed the product, like the housing, the water harvesting and storage. We were looking at tanks over 5,000 liters. And this, we were looking at a cost of around from 180 to 150,000, including of the base, the fitting base. And the maximum repayment period is 24 months. You can see that we are looking at the flexibility and taking care of the cash flow of the members of the rural communities. Then we are looking at the sanitation. We are looking like what was shown earlier there, a pit latrine, and that is joined with the bathroom, looking at a loan product of between 60,000 to 100,000 for a maximum loan period of 24 months. Then the improved cook stove, it was between 5 to 10,000 shillings for a period of 6 months. Then for the house, it was more interesting because we are looking at the full house. The full house was costing between 380 to 600,000. This is between 1 room, 3 room house. And we are giving a maximum repayment period of 60 months. Then we allowed for the incremental building, where from the Excel there you can see there's improvement of the house that is there. That means we base the loans depending with the product line. You can see the foundation. You could just go for foundation, floor slabbing, walling, and beam, which was costed to around 150,000 to 250,000 Kenya shillings for 36 months, going all the way, such that one would borrow to just do the plastering and painting at a cost of at a loan of 20,000 to 40,000 for a period of 20 months. Yeah. I'll let my colleague who is working directly with the FSA to take us through how the product uptake has been.
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon, good morning. I'm Penina from Kakiani, one of the piloted FSAs, work with the Kakiani community. This was the product uptake since we started last year, October 2024 to June year 2025. And we had our projections and we targeted more members on sanitation, that is pit latrines and bathrooms. And also, as you can see from the table, majority of our members prioritized on the water storage solution, that is the water tanks and the harvesting of the rainwaters, more than the pit latrines, though to us, we thought they will go for the sanitations, but majority of members, they didn't take it very urgent, although it is very important. So from the table, you can see the uptake of our product. Water storage had the highest percentage of uptake, and the improved and finishing of the incomplete houses, which took around 22 members against our target number of loans that was 10. We also did several savings GPOs against our targeted that members. So from the table, we managed to give around 50,000 members who got the services from our project. And from the table, we can surely say that still our members need technical support for the housing project. Majority have very incomplete houses, and if some we have substandard materials. And I believe this was due to lack of skilled artisans, and majority lacked the financial capacity to consume the product. But come the next month, all year, majority have shown interest, others are inquiring, but maybe FSAs need technical support to enable our members consume more of the products. Thank you.
If I could just add there, and I think I'd like to clarify that the target loan numbers were over a 3-year period. So we should have clarified that. So the actual loan numbers in some categories like water storage and home improvement have already surpassed the 3-year target. And in some, they've not met the target yet, but we still have a long way to go. So as you remember, we said we've given support to KFS over a 5-year period, and such need products need a lot of ongoing support, consumer awareness, etc. And we feel very hopeful, more than we expected, which is why we brought this webinar forward, because the uptake was so good compared to what we expected. And again, to clarify the female-male ratio of the borrowers, the female far surpasses the male borrowing. I have to admit that there's just a couple of slides left. I rushed the previous presenter, Dr. Solomon and Samuel, thinking we're running late, but we've caught up. So if there's anything more that Penina, you and Faith would like to talk about on the discussion, then we have plenty of time for questions, which can be to any of the panelists. But maybe I can give it to both of you to talk about the takeaways from this journey that we've started and walked together. Thank you.
Thank you, Sita. For me, my takeaway is, for us, the financial institution, of course, the main, what we do most is the financial aspect of it. We know how to give money, we know how to lend, we don't know how to build houses. And from this pilot project, what I'm seeing is that the value chain approach will be critical, is critical going forward, such that when the technical expertise is coupled with the finance, a lot can happen in the rural communities, especially what we are talking about in the housing, affordable housing, sanitation, and the water uptake. Looking at where most of our FSAs are, they are in the eastern side of it, where is Makueni and Kitui, and we know it's fairly dry areas. And we can see, I think we can see like the uptake of the water storage and harvesting is quite high, and it's relatable to where the FSAs are. So the technical support that came with this product is what has made the FSA manage to implement these products the far we are and fast as we could. I think that's a great takeaway. And not to overemphasize the importance of a proper core banking system that is able to monitor the loan products, and also to an extent of monitoring the impact of the product in the community. I think that's a great takeaway from the pilot that is ongoing. Thank you.
I'd love Penina to also share her thoughts, because for us as FSD, we feel very grateful where we are, but it just came from the partnership and really how you understood your members, etc. So please do add a bit more about the membership awareness or any other part.
Okay, sure. As for the process that the technician has taken us through. I've been on ground with the members. They have appreciated the support, and others have shown the willingness to walk the journey with the project. Also, the project has also enhanced growth in our FSAs. Members are joining because they have seen maybe future in the housing project. Others have the desire to have good houses. Others desire to have those tanks in their homes. So the project has helped the members. And if now the support continues, I believe both the FSA and also the people, the members who work at the FSA levels will improve in both the way they work, their livelihoods in terms of the housing. And in one way, we will have improved the way they see life. Others are below what we call poverty lines. If you can remember from our income projections, majority had an average of 9,000. And we have that amount to cater for the other basics. So given the project and the products within our housing projects with long periods, repayment periods, I think we will have helped them both literally and physically in maybe managing their incomes and also in terms of their development.
Thank you. I also want to draw attention to the loan size and why the loan fund was very important. So the average loan size of the 116 loans that done by June was 50,000 shillings, which is more than 3 times the previous average loan size of 14,000. So seeding the loan fund was critical to enable the housing lending, otherwise it would tie up too much capital of the FSAs. And as a housing specialist, I always come across this as a big problem. And it's even much harder in urban housing where the cost of even a bedsit is reaching 1 million shillings. So that's a very important thing for us to think about as the ecosystem, is seeding the loan fund in a way that can be revolved. And the design with KFS is this money, once it's collected, will then be used to support other FSAs in the region. And also why we started with the 2 we did is there's a very, very high concentration of FSAs there. So with that, I want to thank all the panelists and open it up to questions. I see no questions in the chat right now. So if anybody would like to ask any question, please do. I'm sorry again, I rushed the panelists I was looking at, but we have time, so which is unusual for a webinar. We always run out of time. So we have everyone from the CEO of KFS with us, Emma, Faith, who's the operations lead, Penina, who's the team lead at one of the pilot areas, and we have the building construction experts. So please do ask your questions. Thank you. I'm not sure if people will be able to unmute or...
Sita, if I can take this up, it's Lucy. Yeah. We have some questions in the chat, so we have some questions. The first one is from Nelson Otieno, where he asks, what impact does sand harvesting have on the environment?
Maybe I can respond to that. I think places like Ukabani, the sand is like a continued renewable resource in the sense that the sand erodes from those sedimentary mountains. And there are many. They keep on eroding over the years, over the times. And sometimes during the rainy season, the rivers are full of sand, it's spread everywhere. So in many ways, I would almost say like zero impact on the environment. You are not like excavating, you are not breaking rocks anywhere. So for those particular areas, no problem. It's a very appropriate technology, rather low material. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Solomon. For the next question, for Kadonzweni area where costs of main materials, that is burnt bricks, is very close to the cost of stones, Are residents more agreeable to switching, especially given the benefits associated with chiseled stones versus coastal bricks?
Maybe the people from the FSA can respond, but from where we sit as the technological experts, one thing, the stones come all the way from Thika, and that is a reducing resource in the foreseeable future. And the only people who have been able to do that are just the what we call the super rich who can afford to buy stones from Thika, bring them all the way, and they have used them for a few commercial houses. So that's really not an alternative. And the way forward from what we have already seen, we have to get rid of burnt bricks. They don't have much of a future. They just destroy the environment. And the thing is that the more education, more awareness creation, I think more engagement, especially for brick makers. Now we come to think about it. Get brick makers learning how to make these several blocks. Get the brick makers learn how to make the hard cement blocks. And then there will be no need of anybody consider bringing stones from Thika or from elsewhere. But again, habits are hard to change by or die. There's something which in the time I can look forward to a scenario where 5-10 years from now, the hard cement blocks, the terrazzo blocks would be inevitably replacing the use of burnt bricks. And that would be our prayer and our goal.
Thank you. There's
Maybe
another
just to
question.
add on that.
Yes, Faith.
I think in Kalonzweni, I think it has a lot of the people have a lot of positivity on that, and even some of the trained people have taken it up almost as a business, and also considering that the area is very dry, and of course there is a lot of water that is required to construct the bricks. I think they are seeing this as the best way to go when it comes to construction.
Thank you, Faith. So we have another question from Obed in the chat. What kind of guarantee scheme do you use? I think that goes to the FSA and KFS. Is it mainly the behavior or character and adherence to FSA rules that are considered before loaning? And did you have new FSA members who benefited? I think that goes to the KFS and the FSA team.
I think what he means is in terms of the collateral.
Yeah.
Yes, if I can take that up, as indicated that the collateral is basically the group guarantee, because all our loans are character-based. And they also contribute into the FSA because they are member-owned institutions. So the share contributions that they contribute, of course, we match that 4 times. And basically, most of it is the character of it. And again, then what we have like the water tanks that are more tangible becomes part of the collateral. Yeah.
So Sita, there's another question.
Yeah, one question has been answered, the one by Roslyn. So the whole pilot was about promoting 2 technologies. As Dr. Solomon said, we can only really influence the walling material, and the walling materials that were prevalent before or still are, but that we saw were prevalent in the baseline were burnt bricks and poles and mud. And both are damaging on the environment, but what we found with the slide that I can pull up is they weren't much cheaper, so people were just not taking the full cost in. When we calculated introducing soil stabilized blocks and sand cement blocks, which, as has been explained, the materials are available there locally, the cost was not much different. So this slide shows the cost in different areas. It's roughly the same, but in different areas of the baseline of what it is for the house, the 3-roomed house that we had done the workings against, and the cost per square meter. And you can see that the stabilized soil blocks at about 12,000 is not much more expensive at all than poles and mud. So that was quite interesting for us when that was worked out. It's just often the cost is not taken into account. So those are the two technologies that affect the walling. Then the rest of it is just how do you build better? How do you make the foundation better? How do you make the roof better? How do you make sure that the rainwater harvesting is done effectively? Because there is a need, but how do we make it effective? So I hope that answers your question. And we're really, really grateful to KFS because from the get-go, they've been very, very eager to share. So all this information together with today's presentation will be on our all this information is on our website, and then we'll just add today's presentation, which largely consists of extracts from what's already on the website and a bit more information on KFS. And I want to draw a bit of attention to, again, this rainwater harvesting. If Dr. Solomon wants to speak to it a bit, what you prescribe as a full solution.
Okay, say that again, Sita.
Yeah, could you describe how you prescribe the full solution for rainwater harvesting? So buying the tank is the most expensive in cost, but is not the end game. The end game is all these elements that you detailed. If you could speak to it.
Correct. During the baseline survey, what we found out, some members of the FSAs were already taking loans and would buy a water tank. But then that was not the final answer. The situation being that they would still find members with a tank seated on the ground, sometimes very poorly installed. They could even crack or break. And then a very poor rainwater harvesting, no gutters. So our intervention was to show them how to do a proper rainwater harvesting by filling in the gutters, which requires a good fascia board, as we call it, the timber which goes out the roof. And then we fix nice gutters and get the water flowing into the tank. But also more important to build a good base for the water tank. So to do a proper rainwater harvesting, we designed that package where you can apply for a 10,000, 5,000, 3,000 liter tank and the accompanying accessories in terms of fascia board, gutters, and the other fittings. So that once somebody takes a loan for the rainwater harvesting, it is effective and you are able to harvest enough water for your domestic use.
Thank you.
In other words, what I'm saying is
please finish.
No, I was saying, in other words, the solution to water harvesting is not just a tank, but the whole package. And that's what we encourage, like people apply for the whole package, not one item. Thank you.
And what we saw is if you don't put the tank on a base, the tank can get damaged. So you may have invested heavily for your household, but may be at risk. That's one of the key learnings we would like to spread. Thank you for the other questions in the Q&A. From Caroline, was there any loan default and was the house insured? Faith, Femina?
No, so far our repayments are 100%, and in fact some of the loans have fully been paid. The houses are not insured because they're just our normal rural housing, and maybe that is something for consideration in the future as we fine-tune the product.
Another question from Charles. Hello, Charles. Are there plans to partner with local TVETs in having these technologies accredited? I think that might actually, Dr. Solomon, I don't know if you want to add to what I say, but maybe we can speak about how we did find the artisans to start with.
Well, actually, the way we approached for this pilot project, we actually just depended on the FSAs to get us the local artisans who the people depend on, and then we gather them together during the pilot project, engage them in the entire process of block making. They know how to test the soils, how to make blocks, and how to build with them. So they were in the whole process. So in terms of replicability, it's just now a question of whoever wants to build a house have access to these people. Actually, from the FSA, we also have their database, their contacts. And then whoever wants to build a house or make blocks, we just use those people. And as I said earlier on in my presentation, we also incorporated students from the polytechnics, local polytechnics, because the future generation will be involved in these constructions.
And there's another question for you. What sort of testing, compression and strength was done?
What happens, there are laboratory tests if you want to certify like these blocks meet the sort of international standard performance standards. At the rural level, what we have done over the years is an average block, what is approved by the Kenya Bureau of Standards, should have what we refer as the megapascals, but you're looking at something like 2.8 kilonewtons per millimeter squared. For those blocks, a simple field test is what we call a drop test. You take a block, which is 28 days old, fully cured, and drop it from a height of 1 meter on hard ground. A well-made block will not like trouble into pieces. And that's a test you do either for hard cement blocks or the stabilized soil blocks. Another test which you should have people to do is what we call 3-point bedding for the stabilized soil blocks, whereby you bridge a block between two blocks, have a man of around 70 to 90 kilos standing on the block. He may have to order 2 buckets of water to increase the weight, and the block will not crack. And if that happens, it means he will take to the laboratory to pass. But more important for the stabilized soil blocks is the erosion caused by water, because the reason for stabilizing is to improve the compressive strength of the blocks, but more important, the water resistance, the water erosion. So what we do for that is we have the blocks which are 28 days old and above. As someone said earlier on, you immerse them in a bucket of water, leave them 24 hours, even a week for that matter, they should never peel off. And if they pass those tests, the thing is even when you take them to Kenya Bureau of Standards or any other laboratory for crushing or testing, they will pass. And the key to that success is the strict following of the production procedures.
Thank you. And please do look up the manuals. Dr. Solomon really worked hard to create them. We're almost out of time. I'm really happy we had so much Q&A. There's one last question about expansion, both to TVETs and also to other counties. Perhaps I could request Emma to just give any closing comments and build this into it. Emma, just any closing comments about the journey of KFS, this housing product and any scaling. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Sita. The question on whether to expand to other counties, at the moment, no, but you're working on it. Like I said, FSAs are found in arid and semi-arid areas, and therefore this product is actually available to the FSA members. I think for us at KFS and FSD was really to dignify the lives of the members of the FSAs that have to toil every day to make ends meet. And you're looking forward into being able to roll out this product to all other FSAs within our network. And we hope that the rural Kenya will look different and the members of the FSA will continue to enjoy a better life. So thank you very much, and thank you for everybody who attended. Thank you.
Yes. So any last questions before I can't see the clock. I do think we have we have time. The wall clock is a bit faster. Any last questions at all? We have everyone available. Maybe I can ask a question of Penina again. In how we approach the membership awareness, how did you think about it? How was that carried out? Yeah.
Okay, on membership awareness, I think we approached some of our members, not all, to train them plus the artisans. We had joint trainings at first. We separated the members and the artisans. Then we went to the groups and created awareness of the same, and majority took it very positive. And this can be there bear witness of what they are doing currently. So for those who did not get maybe the trainings acquired from those who were trained, and still it's an ongoing. Because currently we are also training some of our members on the same. Our artisans are training other artisans. And this one, I can assure you, the trained artisans are different from the ones which we are trained. So you find the normal artisans used to do their normal way without escapes. They never knew how to do the ratios of the materials, but nowadays you find it's very different. The majority of our local artisans are consulting with the trained artisans for more knowledge. So if this is continued, I think we'll improve the lives of our community people.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. I'd like to just end the webinar with a couple of closing remarks from FSD. Firstly, it's been such a privilege to work with our partner KFS and Dr. Solomon and Mr. Samuel. It's just been a real joy where everyone's just been so eager, so ready, so willing to share, and just we're constantly learning. But that is not something that you get easily. KFS has grown over 20 years, as we've seen. And that would be my closing remark to the ecosystem, to policymakers, to financiers, to think about a longer term gain when we have very short time frames to try to, pilot something and test something. It usually doesn't work. So we've only been able to do this in the short time of 2 years, which is short for housing, because in parallel, KFS has been evolving and growing and being a sustainable financial institution. That took a very, very long time. We didn't start with creation of that organization. I think that's my first takeaway in how housing is so different from other sectors. And also, after joining FSD, what I have learned is housing may be so important and may definitely does give huge transformation in terms of health, education outcomes for the household, but it's still not the first priority for the household. The first priority will still be food, it'll be education, it'll be health, it'll be transport if they need to move to work. So as housing practitioners as well, we need to realize that the share of the wallet for the household is spread amongst many, many competing users, and housing is not always ranked first. So it's like finding the household where housing is their priority at that time. And so creating this incremental product which really just works in rural land where people have access to their land, does help to walk with the household. So those are my closing remarks. I want to thank the team again. It's been a real learning for both Lucy and myself. We were not rural people when we joined, we were urban housing people, but we've learned a lot and we're really grateful we can share this with the open access ethos that we have initiated this project with. Thank you to all, and any other questions, do feel free to write to us. Thank you.
Thank you.